So welcome everyone to another Debating Europe online discussion. My name is Alessandra and I'm your moderator today. We are covering a super important topic today, water. Indeed, water is the most precious resource probably we have on planet. We discussed this issue about water, oceans with 160 citizens from all over Europe in the context of a Horizon Europe project that aims to understand what citizens feel about the different European missions on different important topics that go from, how can we make sure that our cities are smarter and more sustainable, how we can adapt to climate change, how we can make sure that our soils are healthy, and lastly, today's topic, how we can protect our oceans and water. So our aim today is to try to follow up what citizens shared with us previously in the field of water and oceans and maritime affairs, and hear from experts, leaders, entrepreneurs, but also bring in also two of our citizens that previously participated to make sure that we have different perspective on the topic today. So I'm super happy to have a great panel of mixed experts. So today we have Ms. Andrea Strachinescu, who is head of unit in the European Commission Department for Maritime and Fisheries. We have Lefteris Arapakis, who is one of our European young leaders from Friends of Europe, our think tank, but also a entrepreneur who has a super interesting story who you will tell us later on. And last but definitely not least, as always, we have two of our citizens, Samira from France and Alba from Spain, who will contribute with their perspective of, citizens passionate about the topic. So we can start now with the first question. The first question is for you, Andrea, because a lot of our citizens are sometimes a bit skeptical about what the European is actually doing to help protecting our oceans and maritime resources in Europe. And so today we're really curious to hear from you as head of unit in the European Commission, what the European Union is actually doing to, protect our oceans, our waters, our seas, and maritime affairs. So over to you, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. I would say good afternoon, everybody. And for sure that we are doing a lot. And I fully agree that sometimes probably all the work that we are doing does not arrive. It's not properly understood. So we have the Directorate General dealing with Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, where I work. And I think the title, it's quite eloquent and says that we are looking at ocean, seas, waters. We work from all the perspective of how we can protect, but also what are the benefits, because around water, it's a whole economy, which is the blue economy. So you have this directorate, then you have another one dealing with environment, another one dealing with climate. So it's for sure that probably research and innovation that you mentioned, projects dealing with this. So we have a lot of entities at the Commission level that are looking at this topic. Probably what will be great, I would say that with this Commission, it was already announced the ambition to have an ocean pact. So a framework, comprehensive, that will look, I would say, in a coherent way at everything that is done for seas and water at European Union level. It's already a great step because we need to look at the healthiness of our seas and waters. I will put it like this, or our ocean, because this brings everything. We need to look at the healthiness. We need to look as well at the knowledge that we have. It's quite difficult to know if something is healthy if you do not have the data. And this is something that still we need to work a lot, and the citizens can play an important role for this. And as well, we do not have to neglect that the ocean can offer us a lot of benefits from the economical point of view. But we need to be able to know it, and we need to be able to see if we are making use of it in a healthy way and to protect it. So with the Ocean Pact that we are aiming to have it, probably it will be before the summer, around May, more will come. There will be as well a call for evidence, and all the organization and stakeholders that have a say will have the possibility to let us know what is their vision. So this will be This will be probably launched quite soon. I don't know if it's still December or beginning of next year. If not, there will be also consultation with stakeholders, and we are going to have at the beginning of March in Brussels the European Ocean Days, and another round of consultation are going to take place. We are going to look on ocean literacy. So let's say that a lot is done at the level of different entities, and for this commission, we want to come with a coherent approach that addresses all the things relevant from the ocean under a common framework. So I think that if something is not clear, I'll be happy to add and to explain.
Thank you so much, Sandra. That's very promising to hear that the Commission, with all the different departments, is working hard to indeed set the rules and the framework to support the protection of our precious oceans. So now, as I announced, after hearing from the representative of the European Union, particularly the European Commission, we're super happy to have a slightly different perspective. So someone who is more on the ground at the local level, who is one of our European land leaders, and we are very proud of it. So Lefteris Arapakis, who is the co-founder and director of Enalea. So Lefteris, can you tell us a bit more about what you do, of course, in the context of this discussion, how you came up with this idea, and what exactly you're doing from your perspective to contribute at the local level, but still with a big impact, because again, it's about the sea and there are no borders there, in terms of maritime resources, and also maybe once we are here, you can share your challenges and opportunities, and also what you expect maybe from the European Union to do, or fellow citizens. So over to you, Lefteris. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alessandra, for the introduction and this amazing panel. Yeah, my name is Lefteris, and I'm the co-founder and director of Enalea. And Enalea is a social enterprise, and our vision is to have healthy and plastic-free seas. But to be honest, we haven't started our journey by working for the environment. We started like around 7 years ago because of the Greek economic crisis. Like back then, our banks had collapsed, had like these capital controls, chaos in the streets, 29% unemployment. So at the time, I was finishing university and I wanted to create an initiative that could generate jobs. So back then, I was discussing with my father, and fun fact, like my family, they are fishermen for like 5 generations. And my father was complaining to me, I think that's standard fisherman behavior to complain, that they could not find enough people for the fishing boats. So I said that to a friend, and then we started training unemployed people to make them fishermen. And on top of that, to teach them to do it more sustainable. And over the first 2 years of our operations, we're able to create 100 new jobs in the country. But the point is that I had no idea about fishing. Okay, like I think even today I'm probably the worst fisherman in Greece. I studied economics and business in the university, so completely different background. But I had to create a curriculum for the fishing school. So we went to the sea, we went to the Aegean Sea, and then while we're fishing, I was really shocked to see that the fishermen were collecting in their nets not only fish, but also plastic. And I still remember, like in the first catch, we got like this Coca-Cola drink, actually, that it was so old, it had expired in 1987. So it was like 30 years in the sea. And then as I was looking at that, the fisherman took it from my hand and threw it back to the sea. And he told me, plastic is not our problem. And over the next days, we fished so many plastic bottles, plastic bags, fishing nets, even a whole refrigerator from the sea. And the fishermen were just throwing everything back. And then we started reading all of these papers that they were indicated that by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the sea. And we saw that here in the Mediterranean. So we started training the fishing communities of our region to start removing this plastic and bringing it back to the port. And in the beginning, it was just my father and a few of his friends, but they did it, and they started bringing back to the port like vast amounts of plastic. And then we saw that a lot of this plastic was not only from Greece. We started collecting like plastic bottles from Egypt, like beers from Turkey, like plastic packaging from Italy, even a TV from Spain in the first week of operations. So we realized that Mediterranean is actually, everything is connected. So plastic is not like a national challenge, but like in our case, a Mediterranean challenge. So with that in mind, we created a new program. We named it the Mediterranean Cleanup. And with that, we started training the fishing communities of Greece to remove plastic from the sea. And they did. And we expanded this program all over the country. in more than 40 locations right now, and we work with more than 1,200 fishermen all over Greece to do that. And a surprising factor in that is that we saw something that we were not aware of. Like, we saw that the most common plastic waste we remove from the sea is not plastic straws or plastic bottles, not even plastic bags. It's actually fishing nets. It's around 15 to 20% of the total plastic we collect. And we realized that cleanups is great, but it's just treating the symptom of the problem. So we realized that if we want to solve the problem, we need to go deeper to prevent it from going to the sea in the first place. So we started collecting all the used fishing gear for all of these communities to prevent it from entering the sea and becoming marine litter. And then gradually we started finding recycling and waste management companies to help us integrate this plastic into the circular economy, which was extremely hard, convincing these people that we can actually do that. But we made it. And now around half of the plastic we collect for our programs is turned into new products, such as kayaks that are made from plastic that we collect from the sea. So for this work, a few years ago, we got awarded also by the United Nations as Young Champions of the Earth, which is the highest environmental honor that the UN gives to people under 30. Or anyway, this is what they told me. So working with the United Nations, they helped me understand that Greece is actually a tiny peninsula over Europe and over the world. So we need to replicate and scale up our model in other regions. So we started replicating our model in Italy and in Spain, and then in Egypt, and then in Kenya. And now we are working only in the Mediterranean with more than 3,000 fishermen. And we collect every day from the sea the equivalent of 10 trucks full of plastic. And probably with the data we have from the United Nations, created maybe one of the largest plastic cleanups currently in the Mediterranean Sea. And it's something that I would have never expected. So this is our journey until now. And I think what I can say, I don't know, is like citizens like me, like even young citizens, they can make an impact if they can start implementing solutions about problems they see in the surroundings. And for me, that was a problem that was literally in my family, in my neighborhood. All of the friends of my father were complaining about that, and then we did something about that. And the point is that if a solution is actually working, then people can actually adapt it and replicate it. Like, I would never expect that we would be working out with so many thousands of fishermen all over the Mediterranean. So yeah, this is our story. And the exciting part of it is that with all this data that we are collecting currently from all the cleanups all over Europe, this is the great point that we can connect with decision makers like the European Commission, where we can actually help them with data to make data-driven decisions to advocate for the problem. Because the work we do on the field is important, but the problem will be solved through policies. And to help policy making on that, I believe our role is implementing solutions and providing data. So hopefully that's going to be the sweet spot. So thank you so much, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. I think we're all very grateful to hear your inspiring stories and also how you presented it. And you've been very clear in explaining that it actually started from a very essential problem, which was people not having jobs at the time of a crisis. And then you managed to link it with your family story. And I have to say, it's super fascinating what you do on so many levels, because you don't only offer people jobs, valuable jobs, but also you manage to scale up the impact of what you do in this Mediterranean area and maybe even internationally with the work that you got from the UN, for example. But also the last part you said, which is very nicely linked to what we were discussing with Andrea. So the data, so the importance of not only generating positive, but actually monitoring what you're doing, creating data, science, knowledge that then policymakers can use. So it's a beautiful story, and I'm happy that we are here together, and also for Andrea to maybe later on also take up on the data after this panel, what you're doing. Before we turn into the last part of the discussion, which is indeed about citizens and so on, I want to bring now in both Alba and Samira, who are the two citizens who joined us previously. And I'm super curious to hear if you have any comments, questions, or anything else you want to actually also bring from your own personal story or your wherever you are located, because I know you are from countries and areas that are with that deep connection to the sea. So yeah, who would like to start? There is no particular order. So, Samira, please feel free.
Yes, thank you a lot for both of the intervention. They're really interesting, and actually have questions for the both of you. First, for Andrea, I'm really curious about if there is any sort of measures that is taken to try to make sure that people, like young people, are included in the decision-making process. You talk about the consultation, but I wanted to know if young people are going to be included in that. But more also than young people, I'm also thinking about overseas territories of Europe. For example, I'm from Mayotte, which is an overseas territory of France that is next to Madagascar. So it's quite far away. And I think that sometimes, even if we're included in the European Union, we can feel really far when it comes to the decisions that are being made and that are going to have an impact in our maritime zone. So I wanted to know if also that was part of the conversation that you have and how those happen in terms of inclusion. And also, as someone who comes from an overseas territory, and that's the Smile Islands, for us, the sea is, of course, the source of livelihood, but it's also part of huge part of our culture, is huge part of our tradition that stems from the sea. So I wanted to know if in the decision that are taken in the DJMR, the culture is also a huge part of it, or how those notions are included in the decision-making processes that you have. And now, also for you, Lefteris, I wanted to know, you spoke about how you convince people to change their mind, but really briefly, but I know that it's a hard exercise actually. So I was wondering what were maybe some of the techniques you use, how were you actually able to convince those people to change their minds and adopt those changes in terms of the plastic diet they see? Because I know that it's hard, so you must have done a lot of work to make that happen. So yeah, I'm really curious about that. Thank you to both of you. It was really interesting.
Thank you so much, Samira. I would suggest, if that's okay for Alba, maybe we first cover these questions, Alba, and then we come to you, right? So that we don't have too much. Okay, thanks. Andrea.
Okay. Yes, so we are doing a lot of things. So let me start with your first question. At European level, we have an initiative that has the name EU for Ocean. Is the Ocean Literacy Initiative. So I think that if you just go on internet and you look on Maritime Forum EU for Ocean, you'll find everything that is done. So it's an initiative that we are targeting, I would say, but not only. We are targeting the ones between 16 and 30 years old, but we work with everybody because ocean literacy, it's for sure. We want to involve the young people, but we want to sensibilize, I would say, everybody, because education about the ocean, it's important at every age. And for this, we work, if you can easily enroll, be part of the community, even if you are not so close physically, and be close through the events that we are doing to everything all the world, because they are doing a lot of things online, and also they are receiving contributions from various parts of Europe and not only. So we have this initiative at international level, and we work with IOC, International Oceanographic Commission, that what we are doing at European level, it creates also collaboration at the international level. So it's an initiative that I would say has antennas all across the world, and all the contributions are important. So what we are doing, there are projects in the field that we support through various sources of funding, Horizon Europe as well, Mission Ocean, and not only. There are also various events on the beginning of, on that week on March, the first day, it will be the youth dialogues. So probably it will be good if you go on Maritime Forum, EU for Ocean, and you try to register to be part of the community, because like this, you are going to have all the information. So the possibility for sure to contribute will come through this. So we have young ambassadors, because it's always important also to have not everybody involved, but also sometimes it's local leaders, I would say, that are also important. So yes, and culture, yes, because we are looking also at the tourism, and we know that at the level of the sea, we have a huge, I would say, heritage underwater, but also everything that is around has a huge potential. We have, and there are projects that are looking at the restoration and the protection of the marine protected areas, and also on the coastal zones, linking and bringing also what the tourists can offer and how the local communities can benefit. These are some of them. There are the Blue Parks projects under the Mission Ocean. So a lot is to be done. What I would recommend, try to register in the community of the Maritime Forum, because there we have everything. We have the ocean literacy, we have the pollution, we have Blue Invest, we have also the marine data. If I can just add link to what Lefteris mentioned previously. So at European Union level, it is EMONET, which is European Marine Observation Data Network. So this EMONET, it's, I cannot say a database. Database is something too simple. It's a collaboration between more than 130 organizations that has 15 years of activity. So the idea is to bring in one single place the marine data that comes from various projects and observation happening at that sea level. Sometimes citizens, through their activities, as you mentioned, they can bring this data into EMONET. And for sure that we want this data, it's also offered to everybody that want to know and to have information about the sea. If you go on EMONET, you can find easily what is the pollution by sources on coastal areas. And it has a derivation that can be used, which is the European Atlas of the Seas, that is translated in all the European languages, and it's used by various schools in Europe in order to show and to have it in classes, I would say an educative tool about what the seas, what is the healthiness of the seas, and with the visual representation. So coming back, if you have projects in which you collect data, have in mind that it's extremely important to be brought like in EMONET. A data that is not filled in, it's lost. And we need an history of data, because like this, we are building, I would say, the huge heritage in terms of knowledge that can be used for our activities as seas. I have a lot to say, but I know that the time is...
Yeah, well, Andrea, thank you so much. This is super informative, and I really hope that the people are watching us really are taking notes. And if you're a bit lost, you can drop us an email at info@debatingeurope.eu, and we will make the link to share all this information. So, Samira, I'm sure you will have a lot now to dig in and be active. And what I love about what we do at Debating Europe is creating these kind of connections and, bridging gaps and so on. But now over to Lefteris, and then Alba will come to you for sure to reply to Samira's very valid question.
Perfect. Yes, and thank you, Alessandra, for the facilitation. So from my side, well, how we convinced the fishermen to join the program, that's actually, there are a lot of funny anecdotes over there, because it was not as easy as it sounds. But I'll share some stories. Like in the beginning, there was a lot of reaction. Like one of my favorite communities nowadays, it's a fishing village in the north of Greece, pretty large community. And then I was discussing with the fishermen, and they were telling me, like, what are we going to become? Are we going to become like, garbage collectors? So in the discussion I did with them, what I did was like, I was explaining about how they can create value out of this program for themselves, for their family, for the environment. And the answer I would get is like, okay, I will collect plastic from the sea, but none of these guys here is going to. So I'm like, okay, Captain, just, do it yourself and let me worry about the others. And then about the other people, what I've seen is that sometimes when it was hard to convince a fisherman to change the behavior, I was just asking around, and I was going to the areas where his family was hanging out. So I was going to cafes or supermarkets or areas where their wives were working or their children were working, and it was the middle of the winter, so they would just ask me what I'm doing there. And I would be like, yeah, I'm also from a fishing family from Piraeus, and we're doing this program with the fishermen plastic, and we're thinking of doing that there. They were like, ah, okay, that's great because my husband is a fisherman. I'm like, oh, really? What's his name? And we're like, George. I'm like, Captain George. Yeah, we discussed, and he told me that, yeah, he's considering joining the program. And then the wives all the time they were like, okay, tomorrow he will not be considering anymore. And then the next day the captain would come, with a signed MOU, because we have an MOU with all of the fishermen we work together. MOU is like a contract of collaboration, and then they would just join the program. So let's say in this community that we started the program like that, like I was there for 2 weeks. I had like 160 conversations one-to-one with all of these guys. And then the first day of the fishing season started, and most of these guys brought plastic, and they filled up the whole pond with plastic. And they were looking at that shocked, and they were like, wow, why are we collecting this much plastic every day from the sea? And we're just dropping it back. So when they saw that and they visualized it, then every day they started collecting plastic, and then they started recruiting more fishing communities. And this is how we actually were able to expand the model, because they were talking about that. So I hope that answered the question. And the other thing we're trying to do with the fishing communities is tell their stories, and tell a story that we helped them become from part of the problem, which they have been, to part of the solution and lead the way. And my point is that if the fishing communities, they can now, change their behavior and become kind of protectors of the sea, then I think each and every one of us can change the behaviors to create solutions for the environment.
Thank you. Thank you, Lefteris. Also, again, very, very inspiring. And, you basically applied the motto, meet people where they are, right? Rather than expecting people to come to you, really to go there and speak their language and make them feel part of something. And then, it actually is a very nice link also to the last topic that we wanted to cover, which is really how to engage people in the process. But now, Alba, let's hear from you. Sorry for making you wait. Do you have questions, comments, anything you want to share with us today?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you very much for both interventions. They were very, very inspiring, insightful. I don't know, from very different perspectives. I enjoyed listening to them. And I wanted to ask first to Andrea, if it's possible. Now that we're discussing about ghost gear, pollution and the plastics, more connected with fisheries, is that I know that there's some regulation in place, like for example the Marine Strategy Framework Directive or the Common Fisheries Policy, that have addressed this problem of marine litter, especially the ghost gear. But how is this being enforced, or how is the compliance being reviewed on a more national basis, let's say?
Thank you, Alba. Any other comment or questions, or it's really
No,
is what you're very curious to hear?
I just wanted to say I really love your story, Lefteris. It's very, very inspiring, and I don't know, it was a pleasure also to hear everything you did with the fishery.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alba. And Andrea, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. We are encouraging and supporting, I would say, first of all, the fishermen, because as Lefteris mentioned, when they go at sea, they are catching a lot of marine litter in their fishing nets. We are encouraging and supporting them to bring this back. It's not only through the legislation, it's also through financing. It's the fund that it's European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund that offers support that is labeled fishing for litter. And then for link to the legislation, we have as well the Port Reception Facilities Directive that was revised in 2019, and a change was brought. The ports, when the vessels are operating through certain ports, they can charge them on their size, their purpose, their engine, but they cannot charge anymore on the amount of litter they are bringing ashore. So we move like this the temptation that the litter that is collected, it's thrown back in the sea. Now it's another aspect that it's extremely important. And again, the next commission will work on this, is the circularity, the circularity. So it's important that when this is brought ashore, it's something it's done and we are able to recycle. So circular economy will come with some new provisions in the next commission. And what we have done as well to work before. Working before is developing a standard for the circular design of the fishing gear. Now we want to move with the standard in the circularity after design, but also looking how the production process and more is going to be done. So we launch on 30th of November. We work with SEN and we have a standard in Europe for a sustainable design. I think more is to be done. We have to support them to bring this onshore. We need as well what we are doing, to support the projects that are dealing with the circularity of the fishing gear. I know that at the level of the communities, there are a lot of nice projects and a lot is happening. And also to plan from the very beginning that the fishing gear is designed in a more sustainable way. We'll come as well to see what are the alternatives in terms of, and here the materials, because the problem is the degradability of the material. Plastic is something that at a certain point we have to see what are the sustainable alternatives. It takes a lot from our life. It's in some places we might not be able to replace, but if we are not able to replace, we have as well to see where we can replace and how we educate all of us to be able to recycle a bottle or to pay attention to the pollution that this is creating. I think it's extremely important to be probably from the communication point of view, and you saw this in some cities. You are seeing on the pavement where the canalization starts, that the sea starts here. You walk, you see this. I don't know how you realize. Probably we need a little bit more campaign, and not only that the sea starts here, but also to see to what people are reacting. When the Single-Use Plastic Directive was created, you probably are aware that it was a huge communication campaign showing turtles that were trapped in nets and all the problems with the plastic bag. It was useful and it worked. We have to see how we are engaging the citizens, all of us, in the future in order to protect the seas and the ocean. Because the pollution that is caused by plastic, and especially microplastic, sincerely, I don't know how we can clean it. We have to prevent that we are making things worse. But cleaning microplastics for the moment, it's not very obvious how we can do it. So we have a lot in front of us to look for the future. And I think that everybody has to play a role. We need industry to play a role as well. We need probably to avoid the greenwashing. If I'm buying a pair of, running shoes, I have a label Eco Bio. I don't know, it's really Eco Bio. We have also as well to be certain that what is labelized as being clean and protecting the nature is this. So citizens, they have a role. Industry, they have a role as well to play in this. Only if we work together, we can achieve something that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrea, because you've managed to wrap up basically the discussion a beautiful way. And this is absolutely in line with our spirit of bringing different people together to discuss about the issue, because ultimately we're all responsible. Of course, the citizens, fairly enough, have expectations towards the European Union and the private sector, but also citizens themselves. As also Samira at the beginning said in a very beautiful way, we can all, and Lefteris as well, we can all have an impact, at the local level. And it's beautiful to see, some of you, our citizens that engage, asking very valid questions and be interested and wanting to contribute. And as Lefteris said, then there is maybe this so-called spillover effect, because then you can talk to your peers and inspire them. And ultimately, I think what really matters when it comes to environmental environmental challenges is to try to stay positive, not in a naive way, but to inspire people like Lefteris beautifully shared with us today. I think we all come back with a little smile thinking about his story and wanting to know more and maybe contribute as well, whenever and however possible. So I think we can call it a panel now. We covered basically all the topics. I mean, one topic that we maybe have not explicitly brought in was the how can we raise awareness among citizens, but I feel we have done it in the course of the debate on many levels, and they have shared a lot of resources that people can look into. Lefteris shared his impact from a small project to a very big one and hopeful one, tackling different dimensions, by the way, not just the environmental, but also the social one. And Samir and Alba brought their personal interest and perspective to the discussion. So thank you all so very much. Stay tuned for more discussion like this, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.